The Toronto Raptors have been a disaster this season, and there really is no other way to spin it. 4 losses in a row and now sitting at 9-14 on the season. What is the real reason we're in this mess, and who is the party you need to blame the most? Let's get into it. Things are unraveling extremely quickly for the Raptors, and it feels as though we're getting beyond the point of no return. Yeah, 5 games under 500 in what was supposed to be a competitive season for this team. You know, fans, we tried to keep as realistic as possible, at least most of the fans did, where we didn't think this team was going to be an exceptional team. We didn't think it'd be an overly bad team. We knew this team was going to be mid, but hey, it's a mid team that has the opportunity to maybe, just maybe, sneak into the top 6 of the Eastern Conference, get themselves into a playoff position, but likely this was going to be a play-in tournament team where, hey, we make the playoffs, let's just see what happens. But there weren't that many high hopes going into the season. We recognize the hardships associated with this team, but we were hoping for a fun season. Like I said before the season started, I didn't think the team was going to be particularly good. I also didn't think it was going to be particularly bad. But along the way, we were going to see Scottie Barnes' development, and it was going to be a fun season. Well, I'm not having any fun with this team. Neither should you be, and really, the front office shouldn't be having any sort of fun as well. So we're going to talk about the front office, but along the way in this video, we're also going to be talking about the other parties at fault for the Raptors and their struggles so far this season. But just how much fault can we put on the players or perhaps new head coach Darko Rajakovic? Let's start with the Raptors front office. Last season was also kind of disastrous for this team. I mean, 41-41 record shouldn't be, but considering this was a team that bought at the trade deadline, acquired Jakob Poeltl, who was on an expiring contract. This will be important later, but we gave away a first-round pick in order to make it happen. The first-round pick for this season, which was always a red flag, always alarm bells going off, because we knew this was going to be a difficult season, but if it's worse than expected, you don't have that first round pick to fall back on. Well, now we're at the point where that would be a real nice safety net to have for this team that we just do not have. And yes, it is top 6 protected towards the San Antonio Spurs, but you have to remember, even if the Raptors are bad enough that they're a bottom 6 team, and oh my goodness, it's starting to seem like they could be bad enough that comes into play. Guess what happens to our 2025 first-round pick? You also won't be able to access that pick next season. That will be sent over to the Spurs, again, with protections. But guess what? You could be bad enough next year as well, and your pick the following year would go to the San Antonio Spurs. So you're stuck in this situation because of the front office's decision at the previous deadline to acquire Jakob Poeltl. Now, Jakob Poeltl, as far as the trade is concerned, like just in a vacuum, the trade, what we gave, what we got for Poeltl. We gave up Kem Birch, we gave up a first-round pick, we gave up a second-round pick, I think, along with it. Hey guys, it's Jacob, just editing this video, and I double-checked what the trade actually was, and oh my god, it's actually 2 second-round picks, a 2023 and a 2025 second-round pick. Unbelievable. We got Jakob Poeltl into the team. In a vacuum, that trade, pretty good. Jakob Poeltl's a good player, ended up staying with the team. This is a fine player. This is a good player to build with your team going forward with. However, not really suited for Barnes in terms of floor spacing, not really suited to Siakam in terms of floor spacing, and the team really could have used that first round pick. I mean, you make the trade, a buying trade as a front office for a team that still didn't make the playoffs, and it's very much looking like won't be making the playoffs this year. Now you're stuck in a spot right now where you got these free agents, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., who may lead the team for nothing, and then you're also stuck with Jakob Poeltl on this big contract. Now, the contract, again, in a vacuum, $20 million a year for Jakob Poeltl over 4 years, that's pretty good. That's a good contract in a vacuum. But then considering now, well, you might want to make a rebuild move here. You may want to take a step back here. That's not going to be an easy contract to trade. Not a lot of teams are going to be looking for a center right now. So the Raptors dug themselves in this hole, and instead of trying to dig themselves out, they keep digging deeper and deeper because it almost feels as though they have no choice but to dig deeper and deeper. They made mistakes going into the season. They didn't extend their players. They traded for Jakob Poeltl at the trade deadline. They dug themselves a hole there. They traded for Poeltl. They gave away a first-round pick. Hole got even deeper in the offseason when, Fred VanVleet leaves for nothing. You replace him with Dennis Schroeder, who is a downgrade on Fred VanVleet. We're very much seeing that on the court right now. You dug yourself deeper because you still wanted this team to be competitive. You go into this season, you give Jakob Poeltl that big contract because, well, it's a good contract. However, you dig yourself a hole that's even deeper because, well, you just traded for him. You gave away a first-round pick. You can't let this player walk away for nothing now. That would maybe look even worse. So you dig yourself a deeper hole. And now you keep on digging and digging and digging. And you're going to keep digging as the front office until you sort out the team. It is a disaster on court. There is no floor spacing here. Masai blamed selfishness on the team struggling last season. I always thought that was crazy. I always thought that didn't make sense. The team just wasn't that good and didn't have enough floor spacing. So what did we do? We made that team that wasn't very good even worse. We made the team that couldn't space the floor even worse. So now we have this team that is almost unusable on the court in so many aspects. But one thing that we really could have working for us this season is at least the defense. OG was all defense last year. Barnes is taking a big jump in defense. Siakam is taking a big jump in defense. Poeltl's a good rim protector. That's why we traded for him most of all. Schroeder, not necessarily a minus defender. So, yeah, a great defensive unit in our starting five and closing five there. But now we go over to the coaching staff here. We knew the offense would be a disaster. Like, I said this all summer. This was going to be a team that struggles on offense. But we didn't think that defense would be such a problem. The Raptors on the season are 20th on offense. That's about right going to season. Honestly, maybe even a little bit better than we thought the offense would be going into the season. 20th ranked in offensive rating this season. But my goodness, 18th ranked in defensive rating with this team in place? That's got to be something you put on the head coach here. The Raptors come out flat in every single game and are constantly playing catch up. It's just so hard to do all throughout this season, but we've had a good sample size of games at this point. 23 games, and we still cannot start games positively. We're always playing catch-up. And the games, again, you can talk about the two recent games against the Knicks and against the Sharks. The Raptors just cannot get stopped. They had 14 more field goal attempts and one more free throw attempt against the Charlotte Hornets and lost to the Hornets without LaMelo Ball. And then against the New York Knicks, they take 10 more field goal attempts, but 7 more free throw attempts. And lose. They didn't have Mitchell Robinson or Emmanuel Quickley playing. Jericho Sims started an NBA game, and you lost for crying out loud. Like, this was a game where actually the offense did pretty well, 130 points, but you could not get a stop. The Knicks shot above 60% from the field. They shot almost 59% from three. The Raptors could not get a stop. I think they had 2 total rebounds in the fourth quarter against the Knicks because they never got a stop. There never was a defensive rebound to get. The Knicks just kept on scoring and scoring and scoring, and there was nothing that the Toronto Raptors could do to stop it. How can they not stop it? How does it take Darko Rajakovic 3.5 quarters to realize, hey, maybe OG should be defending the hot hand Julius Randle? How has he still not realized, hey, maybe overhelping doesn't make sense when you have so many talented individual defenders? All of these like little things that he could be realizing here. Yes, I understand. The overarching theme on this season absolutely is the fact that the Raptors do not have floor spacing. That is the biggest problem with this team. Absolutely tough for the head coach to navigate that. We knew the offense was going to struggle. The defense is no excuse. The defense should be there. And if we're losing like lower scoring games, that's kind of like, yeah, we know that was going to happen. But how you can't get the defense right and how game after game after game, you can't come up with the proper game plan out the gates to not put your team in a 10-point hole down early, that's insane from a head coaching perspective. And he's making himself his job even harder on offense by barely going to Pascal Siakam in ball handling opportunities. Like, they're so desperate for this team to not appear, I don't know, selfish. Well, the team isn't selfish this season, but what the hell is it? Like, bring back selfish basketball. Let's Siakam ISO more. Set him a screen, let him drive to the rim. When we do that, it works. It worked against the Hornets. When we did it against the Knicks, it worked. You pick on the bad defenders by bringing up a player to screen. Siakam comes off and attacks him. That's what every other team does against the Raptors with Jakob Poeltl. They bring him up in a high pick and roll. They switch onto him, and Brunson absolutely torches Poeltl, who's playing in drop coverage. By the way, drop coverage also doesn't seem to be working for this Raptors defense. And on offense, the Raptors, like the things that teams are doing against us that we could do to them, we are not doing. These are some easier things that could be improving this team that Darko Rajakovic somehow, like I'm recognizing it, many of you are recognizing it, the head coach is not. That doesn't make any sense. Which brings us to the final thing that is not really working. Darko wants to play a specific brand of basketball. Yes, he wants to play this 0.5 offense. Yes, he wants to play this passing offense. We don't have floor spacers. But even with, we have some floor spacers, don't we? OG is shooting the ball well from 3 this season. Barnes is shooting the ball definitely way better than expected from 3. But then you have certain players like Gary Trent Jr., who I don't know what he needs. He needs his own area code. He needs his own zip code to give himself enough space to hit an open 3. He needs to sit, have a coffee, have lunch, and have enough time to still take his 3-pointer. And you know what? Even after all that, he still might miss. This was supposed to be one of your most consistent bench players. This was supposed to be a guy that we considered, hey, this is the 6-man archetype. This is exactly what you want out of a 6-man. Could he be in 6-man of the year conversations this season? Definitely good enough to do it. This guy could average 17, 18 a game off the bench. That's exactly the spark when we finally could have a consistent player who scores off the bench. On any given night, he could widen up with 0 points like he did against the Charlotte Hornets on Friday. So, not just Gary, but Siakam is not hitting his threes at all. Schroeder is open every possession, and they double off of Schroeder because when we kick out to him, they have no confidence that he's going to hit a 3. We knew he wasn't a great shooter coming into the season. He's like a 32, 33% three-point shooter. Yeah, he can hit them here and there, but we're asking him to take 5 3-pointers a game, and he's always open, so he's taking them, and he's taking these bad shots on the inside. So some of the players, yeah, the 3-point shooting, we could be, we're bad, we're the worst in the league, but we also, could be a little bit better. Actually, 3% is only the Lakers are worse, but they have reasons to be worse. We have no excuse. We have no reasons to be worse. We are the worst 3-point shooting team in terms of volume and efficiency in the NBA. Darko is not recognizing that his players are not playing up to what he wants. Darko needs to coach the team he has and not the team he wants. The players, absolutely yes, could be playing better. Defensively, I don't know what, the schemes are wrong. The schemes are flat out wrong. The coach is not recognizing it. Offensively, yeah, the schemes are wrong. Darko's not recognizing that, but for the schemes he's running, the players could also be doing a little bit more. But all of this trickles down into the front office that has made the commitment this season to win with a team that is not equipped to win. It does not have floor spacing. It cannot succeed in the modern NBA. Just flat out, plain and simple. You have LeBron and AD, you can navigate some poor shooting nights. We don't have that. The Raptors are a mess. They were a mess last year, and it keeps getting messier and messier. And until the front office makes a tough decision to pull the cord on it, to decide it's time to rebuild, it is just going to get worse and worse. They're going to dig that hole deeper and deeper. Now you're in a position right now where you can't build around your stars on your team, but you also have really no value to trade them because they're on expiring deals. You have Jakob Poeltl, who makes sense for a good team, doesn't make sense for a bad team, but that contract, you can't really trade him. So all of these problems, you don't even have the safety net of a first-round pick to fall back on to say, well, season, blow it up, let's get a good draft pick. There is hope. There is some speckle of hope. Teams in this position, they tank to find a draft pick, to find the centerpiece of the future. We are lucky. We got lucky one year. We have that centerpiece. But we're neglecting his development. We're neglecting him by not giving him spacing. Scotty Barnes, sure, some questions about his ability to lead a team going forward. I'm certainly bought in that he can do it, but I'd love to see what it looks like with spacing, with guys to kick out to, with players who can feed him on the inside a little bit better. But we don't have that. So the glimmer of hope, if you have that centerpiece, build for him, build around him, make his life easier. And I don't know what it's going to look like to make that happen because you're going to get a bad deal on Siakam. Who knows if OG Anunoby stays or doesn't? Maybe he leaves in free agency. Who knows if Jakob Poeltl are coming up in discussions. Can you trade him? What can you actually get for him in a trade? It is a disaster in Toronto. And it seems like any decision the front office makes right now is going to be one that negatively affects this team. But it's time to rip off that Band-Aid. It's time to do something. It's time to rebuild because this doesn't work. This is not it. It doesn't work. Everybody recognizes it. You recognize it. I recognize it. Masai said he did not enjoy watching the Raptors last season. And he used selfishness as a scapegoat for that. Well, team isn't selfish. And certainly, he's not enjoying it this season either. So it's time to make a decision and set this team on a different path. Because this one, there's no path and there's no direction. What do you guys make of this whole situation? What's the Raptors' next move? Give me your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Smash that like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content like this. And I'll see you again very soon for another video. Hopefully talk about something else. Please.